She wore her loneliness like the ill-fitting dresses she stitched for other women's wedding days. Elena Santos, 28, unwanted and overlooked. Too fat for fashion, her mother had declared when she was just 12, words that clung to her skin long after childhood ended. Across town, in the emptiness of a penthouse that cost more than most people's lifetime earnings, Alex Kingsley stared at spreadsheets that couldn't fill the hollows in his chest. Billionaire by 35, single father by 36, widower by 37. His empire expanded while his world contracted. Two souls at opposite ends of fortune's spectrum, both equally starved for the one thing money couldn't buy and judgment couldn't steal, someone who saw beyond surfaces to the truth beneath. Neither knew that a rainstorm, a missed train, and a dropped sketchbook would crack open the universe and change everything. The rain came without warning, transforming Manhattan's crisp autumn evening into a watercolor blur. Elena Santos cursed under her breath, clutching her portfolio case to her chest. Inside were the sketches that might, if the fashion director at Lancaster's had any vision at all, free her from another year of hemming wedding dresses for women who looked at her with pity thinly disguised as kindness. She ducked under the awning of the 42nd Street station, already knowing she'd missed the express train that would have gotten her to the interview on time. Water dripped from her dark curls, droplets sliding down her neck and beneath her collar. The delicate beading she'd hand-sewn onto her one good blazer, midnight blue with silver thread that caught the light when she moved, now hung heavy and sodden. "Perfect," she muttered, checking her watch. "Absolutely perfect. The next train wouldn't arrive for 20 minutes. 20 minutes that might as well be 20 years for the chance she had of making it now." 5 feet away, Alex Kingsley ended a call that had cost his company $80 million. The acquisition had fallen through, the third this quarter. His board was growing restless, his competitors circling. The rain had trapped him here too, his driver caught in midtown gridlock, his usual precise schedule unraveling like a cheap sweater. He noticed her not because she was beautiful, though she was, in a soft, unconventional way that would never grace magazine covers, but because of how fiercely she held that portfolio, like it contained state secrets or her still beating heart. When Elena opened the case to check for water damage, the wind gusted cruelly. 3 sketches broke free, swirling upward before dancing across the wet concrete toward the stairs. "No, no, no." She lunged, catching one but watching helplessly as the others escaped. Alex moved without thinking, his Italian leather shoes splashing through puddles as he snatched one drawing from the air and chased the other down the first 3 steps of the station. He returned, rain plastering his $1,000 suit to his shoulders, the sketches carefully held above the deluge. "I believe these are yours," he said, voice rougher than he intended. Elena looked up and up into eyes the precise gray of the Manhattan skyline before a storm. "Thank you," she managed, taking the drawings with trembling fingers. "They're everything. I mean, they're important." Alex glanced down at what he'd rescued, a gown, rendered in confident strokes of charcoal, designed for a body with generous curves. Not the skeletal silhouettes that dominated runway shows, but something honest and uncompromisingly beautiful. "You're a designer," he said, not a question but a recognition. "Trying to be." Elena smiled faintly, tucking the sketches safely away. "Today was supposed to be my big break," but she gestured at the rain, her soaked clothes, the broken world. A look passed between them, understanding without words. 2 strangers connected by something neither could name, standing in a bubble of momentary stillness while New York churned around them. "Where was your meeting?" Alex asked. "Lancaster's. On Madison." His expression shifted subtly. Lancasters is one of my company's holdings. Elena's eyes widened. You're Alex Kingsley, he supplied, extending his hand as if they'd met at a charity gala rather than a rain-soaked subway entrance. She hesitated before accepting his handshake. Elena Santos. Above them, the rain continued its relentless percussion. Below, a train rumbled through the station, the one she'd already missed. Miss Santos, Alex said, I believe I owe you a cab ride to Madison Avenue. The taxi crawled through rain-slicked streets, windshield wipers keeping frantic time with Elena's heartbeat. She sat as far to her side as possible, acutely aware of the water staining the leather seat beneath her, of the man whose name graced business magazines and whose companies shaped skylines. You don't have to do this, she said for the third time, clutching her portfolio. The interview was at 5. It's almost 6 now. Alex checked his watch. Platinum, unadorned, probably worth more than her annual rent. Camille Laurent doesn't leave before 7. She thinks it projects dedication. You know the fashion director personally. I make it a point to know all my executives. His voice was matter of fact, not boastful. Tell me about your designs. Elena hesitated, years of dismissal making her cautious. They're for women like me. Talented. Determined. She glanced at him, searching for mockery but finding none. Plus-sized, she clarified. Women who don't fit standard measurements but still want to feel beautiful. Show me, he said simply. With careful hands, she withdrew her collection 12 designs for evening wear, each crafted for bodies the fashion industry preferred to ignore. Bodies with softness, with history written in stretch marks and curves that defied standardization. Alex studied each drawing with the same intensity he gave acquisition proposals. These are extraordinary. They're practical, she corrected. High-waisted silhouettes to embrace the stomach rather than constrict it. Draping that highlights the décolletage while providing actual support. No zippers that require contortion or assistance. You're solving problems other designers pretend don't exist. Elena's cheeks warmed. That's what design should do. The taxi pulled up to Lancaster's gleaming glass headquarters. Rain still fell, but lighter now, almost an afterthought. Wait, Alex said as she reached for the door. I have a proposition. Her expression shuddered. She'd heard propositions before from men who saw her body as either a fetish or a project. Reading her face, he added quickly, a business proposition, Ms. Santos. My 7-year-old daughter, Lily, has a school formal next month. She's been bullied about her weight. None of the stores carry dresses she feels comfortable in. Something shifted in Elena's chest. How old were you, she asked quietly, when someone first made you feel your body was wrong? 12, she answered, the memory unexpectedly vivid. My mother took me shopping for a school dance. Nothing fit. She said maybe if I lost 20 pounds, I'd be pretty enough for nice clothes. Alex's expression darkened. Lily is 7. Last week, a classmate asked if she was having a baby. The shared understanding between them deepened, transcending their differences in wealth and circumstance. I can design something for her, Elena offered. I'll pay whatever you ask. She shook her head. I don't want your money, Mr. Kingsley. Alex, he corrected. What I want, she continued, is a chance. Get me in that room with Camille Laurent. Not as a favor, but because my work deserves to be seen. He studied her for a long moment. You're not what I expected. I never am, she replied, a lifetime of being underestimated evident in those 3 words. Together they stepped from the taxi into the light rain, 2 people from different worlds finding unexpected common ground in the space between them. Alex Kingsley, whose name opened doors without effort, and Elena Santos, who had spent her life pushing against doors that remained stubbornly closed. But something had changed in the 20 minutes they'd shared. Something neither could yet name, but both could feel like the first tremor before an earthquake that would rearrange everything. The Lancasters' receptionist's eyes widened as Alex Kingsley approached, Elena still trailing droplets of rainwater on the pristine white marble floor. Mr. Kingsley. We weren't expecting. Is Camille available? He asked, his tone making it clear this wasn't really a question. Of course, sir. I'll tell her you're here. Elena stood very still, feeling like an imposter in this temple of fashion. Glass cases displayed handbags that cost more than her monthly salary. Stick-thin mannequins wore clothes that would barely fit over her thigh. She'd dreamed of entering this building for years, but not like this, not drenched and disheveled, with a billionaire as her reluctant passport. You belong here, Alex said quietly, seeming to read her thoughts. Your work belongs here. Before she could respond, Camille Laurent appeared, rail-thin, silver-haired, elegant in that particularly French way that suggested she'd been born in Chanel. Alex. What a surprise. Camille air-kissed both his cheeks before her gaze slid to Elena, a quick assessment that felt like being scanned by a barcode reader. And who is this? Elena Santos. The designer I mentioned last month for our inclusive line. Elena's head whipped toward him. This was news to her. Ah, yes. Camille smiled thinly. Though today wasn't her scheduled appointment. My fault, Alex said smoothly. I insisted on meeting her personally and disrupted her schedule. But now that we're both here, perhaps you could spare 15 minutes. Camille's smile remained fixed, but something calculating entered her eyes. For you, Alex. Always. They followed her to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Madison Avenue. Rain streaked the glass, turning the city beyond into an impressionist painting. I'll leave you to it, Alex said, surprising Elena. Ms. Santos doesn't need me speaking for her. Her work speaks eloquently enough. With that, he was gone, leaving Elena alone with one of fashion's most notorious gatekeepers. Well, Camille said, gesturing to Elena's portfolio. Show me what Alex Kingsley finds so compelling. The next 17 minutes were the most intense of Elena's professional life. She presented her designs with a confidence she didn't entirely feel, explaining her philosophy of clothing as both armor and celebration for bodies that society often told to hide. Camille remained impassive, occasionally asking a sharp question that cut straight to the heart of Elena's technical abilities. When the portfolio was closed, silence stretched between them. The craftsmanship is undeniable, Camille finally said. Your understanding of how fabric moves with flesh rather than against it shows real insight. Elena held her breath. But I'm not convinced Lancasters is ready for this direction. The familiar sting of rejection rose in Elena's throat. She'd known this was coming. Known that even with Alex Kingsley's intervention, the fashion world wasn't ready to embrace women with bodies like hers. I understand, she said, gathering her portfolio with dignity. Thank you for your time. Camille tilted her head. I haven't finished, Ms. Santos. While Lancaster's main line isn't the right fit, I believe we could explore a capsule collection. Limited release, Online only to start. A test of the market. Elena blinked. You're offering me a job. I'm offering you a chance. The same thing you asked Alex for, yes. He texted me from the lobby. Camille's smile turned genuine for the first time. He rarely advocates this strongly for anyone. It made me curious. Outside the conference room, Alex waited, his tall frame silhouetted against the rain-washed windows. When Elena emerged, something in her face must have given her away, because his expression softened. "Congratulations," he said simply. "How did you know?" "I didn't. But I hoped." Their eyes held for a moment too long to be casual, something unspoken passing between them. Then his phone rang, his daughter's school calling. Lily had fallen on the playground. "I have to go," he said, already moving toward the elevator. "Of course." Elena nodded, suddenly aware they would likely never see each other again. This brief intersection of their lives was ending as abruptly as it had begun. But at the elevator, Alex turned back. "Would you like to meet her?" "Lily?" "To discuss her dress." The question hung between them, a lifeline neither had expected to need. "Yes," Elena said. "I'd like that very much." Lily Kingsley's bedroom looked nothing like Elena had imagined for the daughter of one of New York's wealthiest men. No princess canopies or imported antiques. Instead, the walls were covered with astronomy posters, the bookshelves overflowing with science titles well beyond a typical 7-year-old's reading level. The girl herself sat cross-legged on her bed, right leg encased in a walking boot, the result of her playground fall 2 days earlier. She had her father's serious gray eyes, but around her face, brown hair twisted into uneven braids. "You don't look like a fashion designer," Lily declared, examining Elena from top to bottom. Elena smiled, setting her measuring tape and sketchbook on the edge of the bed. What should a fashion designer look like? Lily considered this. Skinny. Wearing black. Maybe French. Well, I'm definitely not skinny or French. That's okay. I'm not skinny either. Lily's matter-of-factness held no self-pity, just honest assessment. Dad says you're making me a dress that won't make me look like a marshmallow. From the doorway, Alex winced. I didn't phrase it quite that way. But that's what Olivia called me. A big pink marshmallow in my Easter dress. Elena sat beside Lily, close but not touching. Can I tell you a secret? I was called Marshmallow too. And whale. And blimp. Lily's eyes widened. Really? But you're pretty. So are you, Elena replied. And those kids who called me names. They weren't seeing me. They were just seeing my size. That's what Dad said. But it still hurts. Of course it does. Elena opened her sketchbook. So we're going to design a dress that helps you remember how amazing you are. What's your favorite color? Midnight blue. Like space. Perfect. And what do you love most about yourself? Lily blinked, clearly unaccustomed to this question. My brain? Dad says I'm the smartest kid in my class. Then we'll design something that makes you feel as smart as you are. For the next hour, Elena and Lily collaborated, the girl gradually warming up, offering increasingly confident opinions about necklines and hemlines and whether the dress should twirl properly when she spun. Alex watched from the doorway, something tightening in his chest as his guarded, serious daughter dissolved into giggles when Elena demonstrated the proper runway walk. Later, After Lily had fallen asleep exhausted from more genuine excitement than she'd shown in months, Alex found Elena in the kitchen, sketching final adjustments. "Thank you," he said, setting a cup of tea beside her. "She hasn't laughed like that since before her mother died." Elena glanced up. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. Cancer. 2 years ago." He sat across from her, the sleeves of his dress shirt rolled up, tie discarded hours ago. In his own home, the billionaire facade had softened, revealing the tired single father beneath. "It's been difficult. Especially for Lily. She's extraordinary." "Yes." His gaze fell to Elena's sketchbook. "May I?" She hesitated before turning it toward him. The design was unlike anything he'd expected, not a frilly princess dress, but something architectural and elegant. A deep blue with silver accents that suggested constellations. Structured to complement Lily's sturdy frame rather than disguise it. "It's perfect," he said softly. "How did you know exactly what she needed?" Elena closed the sketchbook. "Because it's what I needed at her age. Someone to see me, not to try to fix me or hide me, but to celebrate what was already there." The silence between them grew weighted with unspoken understanding. "I should go," Elena said finally. "It's getting late." Alex walked her to the door, neither of them acknowledging how reluctant they were for the evening to end. At the threshold, he said, "I'd like to commission more than just Lily's dress." "Mr. Kingsley." "Alex," he corrected, for what felt like the 100th time. "This isn't necessary. Lancasters has already." "This isn't about Lancasters," he interrupted. "It's about my daughter finding her voice again. It's about seeing how you look at her, not with pity or concern, but with genuine appreciation for who she is." Elena fell silent. "I'd like you to design her entire school wardrobe. Clothes that make her feel like herself. Whatever your rate, I'll triple it. I don't need your charity. And I'm not offering it." His voice lowered. "I'm asking for your help, Elena. As a father who doesn't know how to protect his daughter from a world that's already teaching her to hate her body." The use of her first name, intimate, unguarded, shifted something fundamental between them. In that moment, he wasn't a billionaire CEO and she wasn't a struggling designer. They were simply two people recognizing something vital in each other. "Okay," she said finally. "But I charge by the hour, and I don't work quickly." His smile cracked through the careful control he'd maintained all evening. "I think we can accommodate that." As Elena stepped into the elevator, she realized with startling clarity that something had irrevocably changed. A barrier had fallen, not just between her and Alex Kingsley, but between the woman she'd been that morning and whoever she was becoming now. 3 weeks after that rain-soaked first meeting, Elena's life had transformed in ways she was still struggling to comprehend. Lancaster's capsule collection was in development. Lily's formal dress was nearly complete. And 3 afternoons a week, Elena found herself in the Kingsley penthouse, surrounded by fabrics and sketches, with Lily as her enthusiastic assistant and Alex as an increasingly frequent observer. Today, she was finalizing a jumper Lily had specifically requested for an upcoming science fair. The girl sat beside her on the living room floor, carefully sorting buttons by size. "Will people stop calling me names when I wear your clothes?" Lily asked suddenly. Elena's hands stilled on the fabric. "I wish I could promise that. Dad says people who call names are just insecure. That's often true. Were you insecure when you were fat as a kid?" The bluntness made Elena smile despite the painful subject. "I was. But the problem wasn't my body, it was believing what others said about it. Lily considered this. So I should just ignore Olivia when she calls me Marshmallow? Not exactly, Elena replied, measuring a seam. You could say, my name is Lily, not Marshmallow, and then walk away. You're not accepting the name she's trying to give you. Like a boundary, Lily said, using a word Elena suspected came from therapy sessions. Exactly like a boundary. From the doorway, Alex watched this exchange, his heart constricting. Over the past weeks, he'd observed Elena with his daughter, gentle but never condescending, honest but never cruel. She spoke to Lily as a person, not a child to be managed or a problem to be solved. And despite his best efforts to maintain professional distance, he found himself increasingly drawn to Elena herself. To her quiet confidence that had nothing to do with volume or demands for attention. To the way her hands moved when she worked, precise and reverent with the materials. To her laugh, rarely heard but genuine when it emerged. Dad. Lily spotted him. Elena says my jumper will be done for Thursday's science fair. And we're designing cords for my lab safety goggles. That's wonderful, sweetheart. He entered fully into the room. But it's nearly 7. Time for your reading and bed. Lily sighed dramatically but began gathering the buttons she'd sorted. Can Elena come to my science fair? She asked. I want to show her my project on exoplanets. Alex glanced at Elena, whose expression remained carefully neutral. If she's available, I'm sure she'd be welcome. I'll check my calendar, Elena said diplomatically, already packing up her supplies. After Lily had gone to brush her teeth, an awkward silence descended. These moments had been occurring more frequently, the brief intervals when work was done and their professional reasons for being in each other's company temporarily suspended. Can I offer you a drink? Alex asked. Wine? Coffee? Elena hesitated, then nodded. Coffee would be nice. He led her to the kitchen, a chef's dream space with marble countertops and professional-grade appliances, though Elena had noticed it rarely showed signs of actual cooking. You don't use this kitchen much, she observed as he prepared the coffee. Not as much as I should. After Rebecca died, we fell into the habit of takeout. Elena leaned against the counter. What was she like? If you don't mind me asking. Alex's movements slowed. Few people asked about Rebecca directly, either avoiding the subject entirely or speaking about her in hushed, pitying tones. Brilliant, he said finally. Astrophysicist. That's where Lily gets her love of space. Rebecca could explain quasars to 5-year-olds or debate string theory with Nobel laureates. A faint smile touched his lips. She had no patience for my business world. Called it playing with imaginary money while the universe offers actual miracles. She sounds remarkable. She was. He handed Elena a mug of coffee. Very different from me. From you, too. The observation hung between them, laden with unasked questions. Rebecca was thin, Elena said, not a question but an understanding. Conventionally beautiful. Alex's expression tightened. Yes. And you're wondering if your attraction to me is genuine or some kind of reaction. A pendulum swing. The directness startled him. It's okay, she continued, her voice steady despite the vulnerability in her eyes. I've wondered the same thing. If you'd have looked twice at me that day, if I'd been just another woman in the rain. If my size makes me some kind of novelty to you. That's not. I've been the experiment before, Alex. The girl who's beautiful despite her size or has such a pretty face if only she'd lose weight. She set down her untouched coffee. And I can't be that again, especially not with Lily involved. The raw honesty of her words struck him like a physical blow. Because there was truth in them, he had noticed her that day partly because she didn't look like the women who typically occupied his world. Because she was different. Because she was real in a way that cut through the careful constructions of his post-Rebecca life. "You're right to question it," he said finally. "I've asked myself the same thing. If I'm replacing one extreme with another. If I'm somehow using you to reject the world that failed to save my wife." Elena nodded, appreciating his honesty even as it stung. "But here's what I know," he continued, stepping closer. "I notice how your eyes crinkle before you actually smile. How you tap your left foot when you're thinking deeply. How you never interrupt Lily, even when she's telling you something you clearly already know." His voice lowered. "I notice you, Elena. Not your size. You." The confession hung between them, honest and terrifying. "I should go," she whispered, suddenly overwhelmed by the intimacy of the moment. Alex didn't try to stop her. Instead, he said simply, "Lily's science fair is at 4 on Thursday. She'd be disappointed if you weren't there." At the door, Elena paused. "I'll be there," she promised. "For Lily." The unspoken question whether she was also coming for him remained unanswered as the door closed quietly behind her. Lily won third place at the science fair, her exoplanet presentation impressing the judges despite being technically advanced for second grade. She'd worn her new jumper navy with strategic panels that made her feel, in her words, like a real scientist, not just a kid playing pretend. "Did you see their faces?" Lily asked Elena afterward, practically bouncing as they walked toward Alex's waiting car. "Nobody called me Marshmallow. Tommy actually asked me questions about my display." Elena smiled, adjusting the girl's slightly crooked collar. "Because you looked confident, and confidence makes people pay attention." "Is that why Dad keeps looking at you?" "Because you're confident." The innocent question caught Elena off guard. "What do you mean?" "He watches you when you're working. And he smiles more. Grandma says it's good to see him acting like a human again instead of a robot." Before Elena could formulate a response, Alex approached, having finished speaking with Lily's teacher. The afternoon sunlight caught in his hair, highlighting strands of silver Elena hadn't noticed before. "Ready for dinner, scientists?" he asked. "We're celebrating that third place ribbon properly." The restaurant was upscale but comfortable, with a children's menu that didn't talk down to its young patrons. Lily ordered salmon like a grown-up, her face serious as she carefully cut each piece. "I've been meaning to ask," Alex said to Elena after they'd ordered. "The Lancasters collection launches in 8 weeks. Will you be ready?" "Almost," she replied. "The final samples are being sewn now." "She's also designing clothes for my birthday party," Lily interjected. "For me and my friends. Nobody else will have dresses like ours." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Is that so?" Elena felt heat rise in her cheeks. "Lily mentioned the party, and I offered. Should I have asked you first?" "No, it's thoughtful." His expression softened. "Lily's birthday is always a big event. My mother insists on it. Last year was a disaster. Lily spent half the party hiding in her bedroom. The dresses were itchy, Lily explained between bites. And too tight under the arms. Elena's don't do that." High armholes with proper shaping, Elena explained. Simple adjustments that most designers ignore for children's clothing because they assume kids don't notice or care. But they do, Alex said quietly, watching his daughter with new understanding. Of course they do. Children feel discomfort just as acutely as adults, they just lack the vocabulary to explain what's wrong. Something shifted in Alex's expression: recognition, respect, and something warmer. You constantly surprise me, Elena Santos. The remainder of dinner passed in comfortable conversation, Lily dominating with tales of school and detailed descriptions of her birthday party plans. When she excused herself to visit the restroom, a brief silence fell between the adults. I've been offered a contract, Elena said abruptly. To expand the Lancasters collection into a permanent line. With my name on it? Alex's face lit up. Elena, that's extraordinary. Exactly what you deserve. It's in Vancouver. 6 months minimum, possibly longer. The joy in his expression faltered. Vancouver. Lancaster's new sustainability center is based there. They want the collection developed on site. I see. He studied his water glass intently. When would you leave? 3 weeks after Lily's birthday party. There's a design summit I shouldn't miss. Lily returned before Alex could respond, but the energy between them had shifted, a current of tension beneath their carefully maintained composure. Later, after Lily had fallen asleep in the car, Alex walked Elena to the entrance of her apartment building. The night air held the first hint of autumn crispness, carrying the scent of wood smoke from somewhere distant. Vancouver is a big opportunity, Alex said, breaking the silence. You'd be foolish not to take it. I know, Elena replied. It's what I've worked for. Lily will miss you. The unspoken addition "I'll miss you" hung between them. Elena looked up at him, moonlight catching in her dark eyes. This was always temporary, Alex. You needed help with Lily's wardrobe. I needed the commissions. We were never meant to become friends, he supplied, though they both knew it was an inadequate description. Yes. Friends. They stood in silence, the space between them charged with words neither was ready to speak. Come to the cabin, Alex said suddenly. This weekend. The three of us. Elena blinked. What? I have a cabin in the Catskills. Nothing fancy, just a place Rebecca and I bought when Lily was born. We used to go every autumn to see the leaves change. Alex. Just as friends, he clarified, though his eyes conveyed more complex emotions. Lily's been asking to go, and she'd love having you there. Before you leave for Vancouver. The invitation represented a boundary crossing from professional arrangement into something more intimate. A weekend away. Shared meals. Quiet evenings. I shouldn't, Elena said, even as something in her longed to say yes. Probably not, he agreed. But I'm asking anyway. The honesty in his voice, the vulnerability beneath the confident exterior made her resolve waver. As friends, she echoed, not entirely believing it but needing the pretense. As friends, he confirmed, equally unconvincing. And with that tentative agreement, they stepped onto a path neither had planned for, a mountain crossing that would lead them either to higher ground or a precipitous fall. The Catskills cabin was nothing like Elena had imagined. No rustic luxury, no designer wilderness aesthetic. Just a genuinely lived-in cabin with mismatched furniture, shelves overflowing with paperbacks, and windows that framed the mountains like priceless art. The weekend passed in a blur of autumn hikes, board games by the fireplace, and Lily's excited narratives about previous cabin adventures. Elena found herself relaxing in a way she rarely did, laughing more freely, speaking more honestly, feeling more present in her body and the world around her. On their final evening, after Lily had fallen asleep surrounded by the books she'd insisted on bringing to bed, Elena and Alex sat on the porch swing, sharing a blanket against the October chill. "I've never seen the stars like this in the city," she murmured, head tilted back to take in the vast canopy of lights above them. "Rebecca used to name them all for Lily," Alex said, his voice soft with memory. "Even made up stories about the constellations NASA hadn't officially recognized." Elena smiled. "The Santos family constellations included the sewing machine and the perfect cake. Created by your father." "My grandmother. After my mother left, she raised me alone." Elena pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. "She taught me to sew, to cook, to find beauty in making things with my hands." "Is she still?" "No. Heart attack, 5 years ago." Alex's hand found hers beneath the blanket, warm and solid. "I'm sorry." "She would have loved this place," Elena said. "She always said nature was God's perfect design, no tailoring required." They sat in comfortable silence, the swing creaking gently beneath them. The moment felt suspended in time, fragile, precious, temporary. "I'm selling my company," Alex said abruptly. Elena turned to him, startled. "What? Why?" "Not all of it. Just the divisions that don't align with our sustainability goals. The board's been fighting me on it, but after seeing Lily these past weeks, how much happier she is having someone actually see her, I realized I've been compromising too much. In business. In life. That's a big decision." "Yes." His fingers tightened around hers. "There will be consequences. My reputation. My standing in certain circles. Possibly even my wealth, at least temporarily." "Are you worried?" He considered this. "Strangely, no. For the first time since Rebecca died, I feel clear. About what matters." His gaze held hers, the question in his eyes unmistakable. Elena looked away first. "I leave for Vancouver in 10 days, she whispered. "I know. This can't happen, Alex." "What can't?" "This. Us." She gestured between them. "I've worked my entire life to be taken seriously. To be valued for my mind, my talent, not how I might look on someone's arm. Especially not a famous someone." "Is that what you think this is? That I see you as some kind of accessory?" "No," she admitted. "But others will. The woman who designed clothes for his daughter. The charity case who slept her way into a contract." Alex withdrew his hand, hurt flashing across his features before he masked it. "Is that really how little you think of me? Of yourself?" "It's how I know the world works." Elena stood, wrapping the blanket around herself like armor. "I should check on Lily." Inside the cabin, she paused at Lily's bedroom door, watching the girl's peaceful sleep. This sweet, brilliant child who had somehow worked her way into Elena's heart over the past weeks. Leaving her would hurt almost as much as leaving Alex. The next morning, they drove back to the city mostly in silence, Lily oblivious to the tension as she chattered about school and her upcoming birthday. At Elena's apartment building, Alex insisted on walking her to her door despite her protests. "When will I see you again?" he asked as she unlocked her apartment. "Lily's final fittings are Tuesday," she replied, not meeting his eyes. And then the party on Saturday. And then Vancouver. Yes. And then Vancouver. He nodded once, accepting what seemed inevitable. Elena, whatever you believe about my intentions or how the world might see us, know this, you have transformed my daughter's life. And mine. Before she could respond, he was gone, footsteps echoing down the hallway. The next 10 days passed in a whirlwind of preparations, final touches on Lily's birthday outfits, packing for Vancouver, endless meetings with Lancaster's executives about the collection's launch. Elena threw herself into work, trying not to think about the Kingsleys or the strange emptiness that had opened inside her since the cabin weekend. Lily's birthday party came and went, a triumph of Elena's designs, with each girl receiving a custom outfit that celebrated her unique body type. Elena managed to maintain professional distance from Alex throughout, though she caught him watching her several times with an expression that made her heart constrict. And then it was time. Standing in Vancouver's gleaming airport with her suitcases and portfolio, Elena felt both triumph and loss. This was everything she'd worked for: recognition, opportunity, the chance to change how the fashion industry viewed bodies like hers. So why did success taste so bittersweet? Her phone buzzed with a text as she waited for her hotel car. Not Alex, as her heart had foolishly hoped, but Camille Laurent, arrived safely. Board meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Prepare to present collection roadmap. Elena confirmed her arrival and pocketed her phone, gazing out at Vancouver's skyline against snow-capped mountains. New city. New beginning. New Elena. She just had to ignore the persistent feeling that she'd left something essential behind in New York, something no career advancement could replace. Vancouver embraced Elena with unexpected warmth. 3 months into her contract, the Lancaster's inclusive collection had exceeded every sales projection, earning features in Vogue, Elle, and Women's Wear Daily. Her tiny apartment overlooking Falls Creek filled with winter sunlight each morning, the mountains visible on clear days like distant guardians. Professional success tasted sweet, yet Elena found herself haunted by moments of disconnection, catching herself reflexively reaching for her phone to text Alex about something Lily might enjoy, or waking from dreams of the cabin's starry skies. Communications had dwindled to occasional texts about Lily's progress with her new wardrobe. Professional. Distant. Safe. December brought heavy snow and the collection's formal launch party. Elena stood in Lancaster's Vancouver showroom, surrounded by fashion elite in a dress she'd designed specifically for this moment, emerald silk that embraced her curves without apology, structured without constriction, elegant without trying too hard. "You've created something revolutionary," Camille said, appearing beside her with champagne flutes. "The waiting list for your spring collection is already at 3,000 names." Elena accepted the champagne with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I never expected this level of response." "No." Camille raised a perfectly groomed eyebrow. "You should have. You've done what no one else had the courage to do, designed luxury for bodies the industry pretends don't exist." From across the room, Elena spotted the CEO of Lancaster's parent company gesturing her over. Another introduction. Another round of congratulations. Another step further into the life she'd always wanted. So why did fulfillment feel so hollow? Later that night, alone in her apartment, Elena kicked off her heels and stood at the window, watching snowflakes dance in the streetlights below. Her phone chimed with a text: "Lily, using Alex's phone, I wore your blue dress to my school concert today. Nobody called me names and I didn't hide behind the curtain this time. I miss you." Tears pricked Elena's eyes as she typed back, "I miss you too, Sweet girl. So proud of you for being brave. Before she could set the phone down, another text appeared, "It's Alex. She insisted on texting you before bed. Hope that's okay." Elena hesitated, then replied, "Always okay. How are you?" Three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, managing. The board fight over the sustainability transition is getting ugly. Press has been brutal. But Lily's happier than I've seen her in years, so nothing else really matters. Elena searched online later, finding business articles with headlines like "Kingsley's Folly," "Billionaire Destroys Shareholder Value with Green Agenda," and "Midlife Crisis or Strategic Disaster." Inside Alex Kingsley's corporate dismantling. Her heart ached for him. Whatever their personal complications, Alex was fighting for something he believed in: creating a company his daughter could someday inherit with pride rather than environmental guilt. Christmas approached, bringing with it Lancaster's annual winter break. 2 weeks of freedom stretched before Elena, yet the thought of spending the holidays alone in her Vancouver apartment felt unbearable. On impulse, she booked a flight to New York, telling herself it was to check on the East Coast launch preparations, not to see the Kingsleys. Definitely not to see if the connection she'd felt with Alex still lingered beneath the professional veneer they'd maintained. She landed at JFK on December 23, the terminal bustling with holiday travelers. As she waited for her luggage, a familiar voice called her name. "Elena." She turned to find Lily racing toward her, Alex following at a more measured pace, his expression unreadable. "What are you doing here?" Elena asked, automatically kneeling to accept Lily's enthusiastic hug. "Dad tracked your flight," Lily announced. "We're your Christmas surprise." Elena glanced up at Alex, who had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. "Not quite how I'd have phrased it," he said. "We were coming to the airport anyway. Heading to the cabin for Christmas. When I saw your flight details on the Lancaster's calendar, I thought we might offer you a ride into the city." "Or," Lily interjected, "you could come to the cabin with us. Dad already packed extra food. And there's going to be snow." The hopeful expression on Lily's face made refusal nearly impossible. Elena looked to Alex, searching for clues to his feelings about his daughter's invitation. "You're welcome to join us," he said carefully. "No pressure. Just, friends spending Christmas together." Friends. The word that had never quite fit what existed between them. Elena felt something shift inside her, a wall crumbling, a door opening. 3 months of achievement had filled her resume but left her heart oddly vacant. Here, in this crowded airport with the two people who had somehow become so important to her, she finally understood what her grandmother had always told her: success without connection was just achievement, not fulfillment. "I'd love to come," she said simply. The transformation wasn't dramatic or instantaneous. No Hollywood moment of running into each other's arms or declarations of undying love. Just 3 people loading luggage into an SUV, Lily chattering about school projects and Christmas presents, Alex and Elena exchanging glances laden with unspoken questions. But as they drove north toward the Catskills, snow beginning to dust the highway, Elena felt herself releasing the armor she'd worn for years, the protective shell of the fat girl who expected rejection, the ambitious designer afraid to want more than professional success. "I read about your board fight," she said quietly while Lily dozed in the back seat. "Are you really risking everything?" Alex's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Not everything. Just the parts that don't matter. Your company matters. Parts of it? The parts worth saving." He glanced at her. I learned something important from you, Elena. About recognizing what has real value and what's just packaging. The cabin looked exactly as she remembered, a warm haven against the winter landscape. As Alex built a fire and Lily arranged her collection of stuffed animals on her bed, Elena stood at the kitchen window, watching snow blanket the world in pristine white. She had come to Vancouver seeking transformation through professional success. Instead, she was finding it here, in this imperfect cabin with these two people who had somehow worked their way past her carefully constructed defenses. "Welcome home," Alex said, appearing beside her with a mug of hot chocolate. "Not welcome back. Home." As if she belonged here. As if she always had. Christmas at the cabin passed in quiet joy, board games by the fire, snowball fights that left them breathless with laughter, evenings reading aloud from Lily's favorite books. The outside world seemed distant, unimportant compared to the small universe they'd created within those wooden walls. Reality intruded the day after Christmas, when Alex's phone rang with an urgent call from his communications director. Someone had leaked photos of Elena and the Kingsleys at the cabin, intimate family moments captured by a telephoto lens from the nearby public trail. "TMZ has them," Alex said grimly after ending the call. "They're running a story titled 'Kingsley's Plus-Size Mistress, Business Disaster Explained.'" Elena felt the blood drain from her face. "Mistress? They're suggesting my company's sustainability shift is the result of being distracted by a relationship with you." His voice tightened with barely controlled rage. "Implying I've lost focus, that the board's resistance is justified." "Alex, I'm so sorry." Elena's hands trembled as she accepted the phone he offered, scrolling through the article with growing horror. The photos themselves were innocent, Alex helping Elena through deep snow, Lily between them holding both their hands, the three of them laughing around the fire pit. But the captions twisted each image: "Kingsley's new distraction, size-inclusive designer gets cozy with billionaire client, career suicide by romance." Worse were the comments beneath the article, ranging from cruel speculation about Elena's weight to vicious suggestions that she'd manipulated her way into Alex's life through Lily. "We need to leave," Elena said, already moving toward her suitcase. "If I go back to Vancouver immediately, maybe we can minimize the damage." Alex caught her arm gently. "Running won't help. They've already created their narrative. Then we need to correct it. Issue a statement clarifying our professional relationship." "Is that what we have? A professional relationship?" The question hung between them, demanding truth after months of careful avoidance. Before Elena could answer, Lily appeared in the doorway, face pale. "People are saying mean things about Elena on Madison's mom's Instagram." Alex and Elena exchanged alarmed glances. "What were you doing on Instagram, sweetheart?" Alex asked carefully. "Madison texted me." Lily's lower lip trembled. "She said people are saying Elena is only pretending to like me to get your money." Elena knelt before the girl, taking her small hands. "Lily, look at me. None of that is true. I care about you so much and it has nothing to do with your dad's money." "Then why are people saying it?" "Because," Alex interjected, joining them, "sometimes people say unkind things about what they don't understand. Like when kids called me marshmallow." "Exactly like that," Elena confirmed. "Remember what we talked about? How those words reflected the speaker, not you." Lily nodded slowly. "So these people just don't understand that you like us for real." "That's right." Elena squeezed Lily's hands, trying to project a confidence she didn't entirely feel. After Lily had been settled with a movie in her bedroom, Alex and Elena retreated to the kitchen to assess the damage. His PR team had sent links to a dozen articles, each more sensationalistic than the last. "Lancaster's is calling," Elena said as her phone lit up with Camille's name. "I should answer." The conversation was brief but devastating. Camille's voice was professionally sympathetic but firm. The company was concerned about the optics of their star designer being romantically linked to a major investor, particularly one currently embroiled in a board fight. Could Elena perhaps return to Vancouver immediately and issue a statement clarifying the relationship as strictly professional? "I understand," Elena said, her voice hollow as she ended the call. "What did they say?" Alex asked, though his expression suggested he already knew. "They want distance between us. Public distance." She sank into a kitchen chair. "Everything I've worked for, Alex. My collection, my name on something meaningful, it could all disappear because we spent Christmas together." "Because I'm becoming a liability," he corrected quietly. The once stable businessman now making reckless decisions. "This is exactly what I was afraid of." Elena pressed her fingers to her temples. Not being taken seriously. Being reduced to the fat girl sleeping with the boss. Alex flinched at her words. "Is that what you think is happening here? That I see you as?" "No," she interrupted. "But it doesn't matter what we think. Perception becomes reality in our worlds." The silence between them grew heavy with unspoken truths. "What do you want to do?" Alex finally asked. Elena looked up at him, this man who had somehow become essential to her happiness, who saw her completely and valued what he saw. "I don't know," she admitted. "For the first time in my life, I don't have a clear plan." "Then let me suggest one." He sat across from her, close but not touching. "We stop hiding. We stop pretending there's nothing between us. We tell the truth to Lily, to the press, to ourselves." "Alex. I'm in love with you, Elena." The words fell between them like stones into still water, creating ripples that could never be called back. "I've been in love with you since you sat on my kitchen floor designing a science fair outfit with my daughter. And I'm tired of pretending otherwise to satisfy boardrooms or fashion executives or anyone else who thinks they have a say in who we are to each other." Elena's heart pounded against her ribs. "It would change everything. My career. Your talent will stand regardless. You transformed an entire market segment through sheer vision and determination. That doesn't disappear because of who you love." "Who you love?" The phrase echoed in her mind, insistent and undeniable. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Not of loving you, but of losing myself. I've spent my whole life fighting to be valued for my mind, not judged for my body. If I become Alex Kingsley's girlfriend, will anyone see me clearly again?" He reached across the table, palm up, an invitation, not a demand. "I can't promise it will be easy. But I can promise you won't face it alone." Elena looked at his offered hand, then at his face, the face that had become as familiar to her as her own reflection. The face that had never once looked at her with judgment or disappointment, only with growing understanding and, yes, love. Slowly, deliberately, she placed her hand in his. "Okay," she whispered. "No more hiding." The media storm didn't abate immediately. If anything, it intensified when they returned to New York together, Elena's hand firmly in Alex's as they navigated the paparazzi outside his apartment building. But something had shifted both in their relationship and in how they faced the scrutiny. Instead of separate statements, they issued one together, simple and direct: "Yes, we're together. No, it's not complicated. We met, we worked together, we fell in love." The end. Lancaster's executives were initially flustered but quickly recognized the marketing potential of their designer's high-profile relationship. The inclusive collection, already successful, gained further attention, some of it prurient, but much of it genuinely interested in the woman who had captured Alex Kingsley's heart through talent rather than conventional beauty. "Ready for this?" Alex asked 3 weeks later, as they prepared to attend their first official public event as a couple, a charity gala supporting girls' education in STEM fields. Elena smoothed the midnight blue gown she'd designed for the occasion, cut to celebrate rather than conceal her curves. "As ready as I'll ever be." "You look beautiful," Lily announced from the doorway, already in her pajamas though she'd lobbied hard to attend. "Like a constellation." Elena smiled, kneeling to hug the girl who had become so precious to her. "The best compliment I could receive from an astronomer in training." As they stepped onto the red carpet later that evening, camera flashes exploding around them, Elena felt a momentary flutter of panic. Then Alex's hand tightened around hers, solid, warm, present. "Together," he murmured. "Together," she confirmed, and stepped forward into the light. Spring arrived in New York with gentle insistence, coaxing color from barren branches and warmth from the winter-chilled earth. In Elena's sunlit studio on the top floor of the Kingsley residence, fabric samples in various shades of ivory and cream covered nearly every surface. Her wedding dress. Not a sculpture of lace and false promises like the ones she'd spent years creating for other women, but something true to herself, architectural lines that honored her curves, fabric that moved with her body rather than restraining it, subtle embellishments that drew the eye upward to her face, where Alex insisted he saw everything that mattered. "Can I see yet?" Lily asked, poking her head around the studio door for the 5th time that afternoon. Elena smiled, covering her sketches. "Not yet, curious one. But soon. Dad says I can help pick the flowers. And the cake." "Of course you can. It's your wedding too, in a way." Elena's voice softened. "A new beginning for all of us." The past 6 months had brought seismic shifts in all their lives. Alex had finalized the restructuring of his company, shedding the divisions that wouldn't commit to sustainability goals and strengthening those that would. The stock had initially plummeted, then stabilized as investors recognized the long-term vision behind his decisions. Elena had renegotiated her contract with Lancaster's, insisting on maintaining creative control of her collection while expanding its reach globally. She now split her time between Vancouver and New York, though the balance increasingly tilted toward the latter as the wedding approached. The media circus had eventually found fresher scandals to chase, though Elena and Alex still occasionally featured in style sections and business profiles. What had once seemed an insurmountable obstacle, their relationship being scrutinized through lenses of wealth, size, and status, had gradually normalized into a footnote rather than a headline. 5 minutes until we leave for the cake tasting," Alex called up the stairs. "Lily's already in the car." Elena gathered her sketches, tucking them into a portfolio before heading downstairs. Alex stood in the foyer, casually elegant in jeans and a gray sweater that brought out the silver at his temples, silver that Elena loved to tease him about, even as she threaded her fingers through it in quiet moments. "Ready for the sugar rush of the century?" he asked, helping her with her coat. "I've faced down Vogue editors and your terrifying board members. I think I can handle a cake tasting." His smile crinkled the corners of his eyes. You say that now, but Lily has been researching cake flavors for weeks. She has a spreadsheet. Of course she does. She's your daughter. The simple phrase "your daughter" still carried weight between them. In 3 months, Elena would become Lily's stepmother officially, though the bond between them had solidified long before Alex proposed. At the bakery, Lily indeed produced a meticulously organized spreadsheet of possible cake combinations, complete with color coding for preference levels and notes about seasonal availability of certain fruits. What about this one? Elena suggested, pointing to a sample of lemon cake with raspberry filling. Light but still festive. Lily considered, then made a note. Possible. But I still think the chocolate with hazelnut cream is more celebratory. We could do both, Alex offered. Different tiers, different flavors. Elena and Lily exchanged glances. That's actually brilliant, Elena admitted. I have my moments, Alex replied with mock humility. Later, as they walked through Central Park, Lily ran ahead to feed the ducks while Alex and Elena strolled hand in hand, enjoying the rare peaceful moment in their increasingly busy lives. Lancaster's wants me to expand into menswear, Elena said, breaking their comfortable silence. Tailoring for non-standard male bodies. That's fantastic, Alex replied, genuinely pleased. Though I'm selfishly glad Vancouver is less insistent on your physical presence these days. She squeezed his hand. Modern technology. I can design from anywhere. Including our cabin. A smile spread across her face. Especially there. They had spent spring break at the cabin, planting a garden Lily had designed with meticulous attention to growing seasons and complementary species. Elena had started sketching her wedding dress there, inspired by the natural symmetry of the forests surrounding them. I've been thinking, Alex said, his voice taking on the quality it always did when he was proposing something he wasn't entirely sure about. After the wedding, what would you think about spending more time at the cabin? Not permanently, but maybe summers. Weekends. Are you suggesting we become commuters? The billionaire, the fashion designer, and the science prodigy living between Manhattan and the mountains. When you put it that way, it sounds like the setup for a sitcom. He grinned, then grew more serious. I just want Lily to have what I didn't, a childhood with open spaces and quiet moments, not just achievements and expectations. Elena watched Lily in the distance, her dark hair catching the sunlight as she carefully distributed breadcrumbs among the ducks. This thoughtful, brilliant child who had first brought them together, who had seen Elena clearly long before either adult had fully recognized what was developing between them. I think it's perfect, she said softly. A garden that's just ours. Stars we can actually see. Space to breathe between the demands of our work. Relief washed over Alex's features. I wasn't sure if you'd want that much distance from the fashion world. The fashion world will survive without me breathing down its neck every minute, Elena replied. And to be honest, some of my best designs have come from that cabin. Something about the space, it clears my mind. They reached a bench overlooking the pond where Lily was now sketching the ducks in a small notebook, her newest hobby, inspired by Elena's design process. I got a letter yesterday, Elena said as they Saturday from a 14-year-old girl in Ohio. She saw the Vogue profile about the wedding and our blended family, as they called it. The one with the photos of Lily's science fair. Elena nodded. This girl wrote that seeing someone who looks like me designing my own wedding dress, marrying someone like you, it changed how she thinks about her future. She said she'd always believed her body meant she couldn't have certain things: love, success, visibility. Alex took her hand, understanding the significance without her having to explain. For years, Elena continued, I focused on designing clothes that helped women feel less self-conscious, less visible in their flaws. But now I realize what I really want is to help them feel more visible in their entirety. Not despite their bodies but through them. Is that what you're doing with your wedding dress? Making yourself more visible? She smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder. I'm designing a dress for exactly who I am. No apologies, no concessions, no attempt to create an optical illusion of being smaller. Just me, walking toward you, fully present in my body and my choice. He pressed a kiss to her temple. I can't wait to see it. To see you. 3 more months, she murmured. But they both knew the truth: they had already seen each other, completely and without reservation, long before they would speak any formal vows. From that first rain-soaked meeting to this sun-dappled afternoon, they had been learning to recognize each other across differences of experience, expectation, and environment. As Lily ran back toward them, sketch proudly held aloft, Elena felt a profound sense of arrival. Not at a destination, but at a beginning, a new chapter being written with each choice to see and be seen, to value and be valued, to love and be loved without condition or constraint. In a world obsessed with surfaces, where worth is measured in inches and pounds, where value is calculated in dollars and status, Elena and Alex's journey reminds us of a deeper truth, that true connection happens only when we dare to see beyond appearances to the essential nature beneath. Elena's transformation wasn't about changing her body to fit society's expectations. It was about recognizing her inherent value and creating space for others to see it too. Through her designs, she didn't just clothe bodies society had deemed too much. She celebrated them, honored them, made them visible in their beauty rather than their difference. Alex's evolution wasn't about charity or novelty in choosing someone who didn't fit his world's narrow definition of acceptability. It was about recognizing that love transcends categories, that connection happens soul to soul, not resume to resume or body type to body type. And perhaps most powerfully, Lily's story reminds us that children see truth before prejudice, worth before judgment, if only we nurture that vision instead of training it out of them. Their family unit, created through choice rather than convention, stands as testament to the possibility that lies beyond our comfort zones, beyond our expectations, beyond the limitations we've accepted as inevitable. In the end, their story isn't about a poor girl and a rich man finding unlikely love. It's about two complete human beings recognizing each other across differences and choosing, every day, to build something beautiful together. If this story touched something in you, perhaps a recognition of how you've limited yourself or others based on appearance, wealth, or circumstance, I invite you to look deeper, both at yourself and those around you. What beauty are you missing because you've been taught certain bodies, certain lives, certain loves are less worthy of attention? What connections remain unmade because you fear judgment or rejection? Take a moment now to share in the comments how this story resonated with you. Perhaps you felt overlooked because of your appearance, or maybe you've been guilty of overlooking others. Your honesty creates space for others to be honest too. Subscribe to our channel for more stories that challenge conventions and celebrate the full spectrum of human experience. Each week, we explore narratives that might otherwise go untold, reminding us all that visibility matters, that every body deserves celebration, that love transcends the boundaries we've been taught to accept. And if you know someone struggling to believe in their own worth, someone who needs permission to take up space, to be seen, to be loved exactly as they are, share this video with them. Sometimes, Seeing ourselves reflected in others' journeys is the first step toward writing a new chapter in our own.